What's up, party people in the house? It's Dynasty War Games. I'm your host, Jesse Schneeman, and I'm here, as always, with my main man and co-host, Chad Mendoza. What's up, my man?
Nothing much. Football is up, man. Giants
exactly.
won again today, surprisingly. 2-0. I honestly cannot believe I'm saying that out loud without it being some kind of like trick where I'm lying to myself about the season. But anyways, yeah, no, this is awesome. I'm having a fantastic day. How about you, man?
Amazing. Sitting around watching football all day. Wife went to the beach, so I've been K-Solo.
Nice.
K-Solo's a rapper from the 80s and 90s, by the way. So,
Gotcha.
of course, on brand, making 80-year-old references.
Yeah.
So, speaking of that Giants game, real quick, let me ask you what you thought of the strategy of giving Saquon Barkley 5 carries in the first half.
Yeah, it was tough, man, because
I wasn't watching the game, so I don't really know. I know.
Yeah, you can tell the Panthers really focused on stopping Saquon.
Okay. I mean, and they do have a good defense, especially, their linebackers are always solid. They always have a good run defense.
Yeah, until the second half, I mean, it looked like we couldn't win any line of scrimmage battle at all. Like it was pretty bad. If it weren't for the early turnovers, I don't even know that we'd have any points at the half. So, yeah, it was just a rough first half, and then the second half they came out and was able to move the trenches a little bit, and it helped. So, yeah, I think it was just the Panthers imposing their game plan really well, and Dayball didn't want to really force it, I think.
Gotcha. How do you feel about the way Daniel Jones played?
I thought he struggled a little bit, but when it mattered, he made the big plays, and so yeah, I mean, what more can you ask for in a game like that? Everybody's gonna have bad games. You just hope he doesn't have games like that the entire season. But if your bad games are bad games, but when on the biggest plays you make the play, I think that counts for something.
Yeah, I mean, huge first touchdown for rookie tight end Bellinger. That was one of your big calls of the offseason about Daniel Bellinger. So, good call by you, I guess.
Yeah, free guy, right? So
yeah, exactly. I mean, he wasn't even drafted in a lot of my 4 or 5 round rookie drafts, so he was essentially free.
Yep. Yeah, that's where I got him. I picked him up almost everywhere off of waivers right after rookie drafts, and him and wherever Rucker was available as well. But yeah, jury's out on him still. I guess jury's out on everybody, but he's not gotten off to the best start. So
yeah, I'll tell you the one thing I can really see after 2 weeks is defenses are way ahead of offenses. You see a lot of really, really good, really skilled offenses just kind of in the slag. In the sludge, kind of running waist deep in quicksand. It feels like some of these really good offenses.
I think it's tough, and maybe I'm off base here, but the way I always think about it is, the offenses have to be super in sync with each other, whereas like the defenses, it's more like individual based, where they have to get their assignments right, but as long as they don't bust coverage, as long as they do the right thing themselves, that it should be at least a decent defensive performance.
Yeah, more read and react than on offense. It's like you said, you have to be precise, the timing. Just you see so many little just crappy mistakes happening. How many I don't know how many times I saw a quarterback roll out or just start to move today and lift his hand up and the ball gets knocked out of his hand.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of little mistakes that need to be tightened up, and it's obvious that lack of training camp and lack of preseason, lack of enough practice, the practice that matters with these guys.
I think also the quarterbacks are still getting used to their offensive lines, where you can really tell they don't have a feel for how good or bad they are yet. And so
absolutely,
they're either holding the ball a second too long or maybe getting rid of it a second too quick, where they're just, not really feeling the pressure all too well and just kind of judging it based off of what they had last season.
And the offensive lines are obviously still getting used to each other as well. A lot of missed assignments on the offensive lines as well. So you see a lot of sacks, and like really good offenses like the Bengals just don't look good right now.
Yeah.
And then you see teams just sort of kind of find their rhythm in the second half, like the Dolphins.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's an understatement.
We're going to talk about that later. Anyway, I don't want this to turn into a recap of week 2. I just kind of wanted to talk to you about the Giants a little, and also the Jets. I mean, my biggest takeaway from this week is the Jets rookies. Boy, man, these guys.
Yeah,
really
Garrett Wilson looks pretty good, huh?
Yeah, he does. I mean, that what was it? A up and out or up and in? For the game-winning touchdown, man, he just looked lightning fast on that. He's got a lot of moves after the catch, like that kid.
Yeah. I almost traded him away yesterday in one of my leagues. I have him quite a few places, so actually surprisingly, because I wasn't his biggest fan compared to other people in the offseason before rookie drafts.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, surprisingly, I have a ton of them. So I don't know if it's good. Yeah, he just kept falling, I guess, in drafts. I don't quite remember the exact reason, but I just noticed it today. I went through all my leagues and on a Dynasty Planet, the roster ship and everything. And yeah, I think I have like a 28% share of him, 20 something, high 20s. So
I think there's a case of some fatigue with him, maybe some prospect fatigue with him, where he was sort of at the top of the class for so long that people may have gotten bored with him because they hadn't seen him play.
Well, I guess in anybody becoming a Jet is
that too
not good for the value as well, or the perception of it. So
I mean, when Joe Flacco is the guy that's making your offense move,
or I mean, shit, it's better than Zach Wilson at this point.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If you have to bench your rookie or your young quarterback, and Joe Flacco is the guy pulling you out of the fire, yikes, But to his credit, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and a win today.
Yeah.
Guess he still got some of that arm strength. He can't move at all.
Super Bowl MVP Joe Flacco is how he likes to be referred. QB4 in week 2 also. So yeah.
Right on. All right, so let's talk a little bit about quarterbacks and injuries to quarterbacks that have happened. So Dak. Obviously, that's the big one. It's been covered ad nauseum, when he's coming back and what happened. So we're not going to go through all that. But I wanted to go through a specific situation that I was in where I'm defending champion, and I have Dak and Stafford as my quarterbacks, and then my backup was Zach Wilson. Right, so a little bit screwed. I picked up Cooper.
So you have great luck,
right? So I picked up Cooper Rush. Yeah, it gets better, by the way. But I didn't want to just, all right, I'm like I said, defending champion. I don't want to just say like, all right, I'm just gonna ride Cooper Rush. So I went out and made a deal. I traded Zach Wilson, aforementioned, who I've lost all confidence in. Not that I really ever had any. I was really low on him coming out as a prospect, and this was my one. This is my only like in case I get it wrong.
Yeah, you've been pretty solid on that. Maintained it the whole way through. That you just did not think he was a good player,
right? And he hasn't shown anything so far to make change my mind.
He's splashed a little bit,
right?
I mean, they also had some drastically poor moments as well, but both sides of the extreme. I think with him,
yeah, okay, but I think there's a long way to go for him to be an elite prospect or an elite quarterback, and
I think there's a long way to go for him to be an okay prospect.
Yeah,
at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So I traded him and Jamison Williams for Trey Lance, Gainwell, and Brevin Jordan. And the Gainwell and Brevin Jordan only came about because he was offering. Actually, he offered me 2 other players as depth pieces that I didn't really like, Russell Gage and somebody else. So I just flipped them out. I changed them out and sent the counter, and he accepted. But essentially, it's Jameson Williams and Zach Wilson for Trey Lance, and then obviously Trey Lance, his ankle ended up the wrong way at the end of a play today.
Yeah,
facing the wrong way, so he's out for the year.
Yes.
is having ankle surgery out for the year. So, yeah, my luck gets even better. So I've been through 3 quarterbacks. Now what do I do? So this is what I want to talk about. Like, what's the strategy here? Do I trade Dak? Am I going to be able to find a team that's maybe not contending this year, but still wants to add a quarterback, as a foundational piece?
Yeah, so let's I guess let's dive into a little bit of the context of your roster a little bit. So without getting too specific, but how would you think you rank amongst the league as far as the rest of your roster goes? Would you say, I mean, you don't have to name players or anything, but just would you say you're top 2, top 3,
Well,
the
like I
best
said,
roster other than that quarterback position, obviously?
Like I said, I'm defending champion, and I made some upgrades in the offseason, and I feel like I'm top 3 or 4.
Okay.
It could be the top team, could be the 4th team. Without quarterbacks, that could be the 8th team. Who knows?
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I think I have a very strong roster. Dalvin Cup, Mixon, Debo, Saquon, just and a lot of other pieces. I don't, like you said, we don't want to go through the specifics of my roster, but I have
just filled with elite pieces. So
a lot of elite pieces. Yeah.
Do you what are your other quarterbacking options other than those guys that have been?
I have Stafford and I have Cooper Rush.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess in your position right now, your options are to go ahead and sell out for another quarterback, right? And just, doubling down and saying, okay, I have an elite roster. I'm going to go ahead and get another, option, another strong option added to the roster, and then just hope it works out the rest of the season. Or, you can roll with Cooper Rush until people start figuring out, like, hey, have no shot at this season and I need to sell some vets. And then you can go ahead and get guys like, Kirk Cousins, Wentz, even guys like Garoppolo, for super cheap, So Tannehill is another one. So I don't think that I would personally go out and spend on another elite quarterback, just because you do have Trey Lance, and I don't think that's necessarily a good piece to have, but I also don't think it's necessarily a good time to sell him. So I'd probably hold on to him and roll with Cooper Rush for now. I mean, I think he's played okay in this game, right?
Yeah.
I saw part of it and he looked okay.
Yeah, he looked fine today. He looked like a pretty good backup, actually.
Yeah, and if the rest of your roster is really good, then he may be able to, just get you through these weeks, make the playoffs, and even before you make the playoffs, go and try to get that, mediocre quarterback upgrade, that QB12, QB13 kind of range guy that you can get for pennies at that point in the season. And I think that's kind of the better outlook for you, where you're not having to reinvest and spend more draft capital, and at a time where draft capital is not at its premium value right now. Yeah, I think that's probably the smart move in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I just made a deal for a quarterback, so I don't really want to go out and make another one, and I don't think I'm going to get enough for Dak. I would love to trade Dak at what his value was before he went down, but coupled with the fact that he didn't look good in that game before he went down, and the offense looked like crap. It's one game. That wouldn't worry me personally, but there are enough people out there that are going to just, just sort of pass on a deal with him. If I ask for what he was actually worth. So, and I'm not the type of player I'm not the type of dynasty player to overreact to an injury and trade that player. My reaction is always something different. My reaction is always to either trade the player, trade his backup and try and get something for him, or just try to add a different piece somewhere else. But
now,
I'm not going to chase it.
One idea that I did
like
have,
chasing it is a good idea right now.
One idea that I did have, right, where I don't think this would be necessarily chasing it. I think it would kind of be cutting your losses a little bit on Trey Lance. which I don't think is the worst move in the world. I think if you're saying, okay, I want to sell Trey Lance by himself, I'm going to go out there and get the highest draft pick I can get. I don't think you're going to get much. I think people are going to be reluctant to give you even a late 2023 third at this point. At least that's where. Sorry, a late 2023 first. Sorry about that. A late 2023 first at this point. I think probably people are going to start peddling off 24 first for you. And at that point, I don't really see, you know, the value in that. Like, you might as well just hold Lance and see what happens. But
I mean, he's going to be their start. He's going to be their starter again next year. So
yeah, but we just don't know if he's good or not, which is another risk. You know, he has this injury history. Sure, he hasn't looked good, and
sure, there's some risk, but you know, at this point, my only option is to hold him until he actually.
Well, so listen. So this was the idea
actually that get some hype or put some points up.
So this is the idea that I have, though. This is I was trying to get to is if you're thinking about trading Dak, like if that's even a thought in your mind, why not package both quarterbacks? And say, go to every team that has an elite quarterback that's not competing or that doesn't look like they have a competing roster and say, hey, I'll throw you both of these quarterbacks, right? Dak's an elite quarterback. Lance looks like a good prospect, even though he's hurt. You don't need him right now. He's going to come back eventually. You know, throw that whole argument out there and try to get the next step up from Dak.
Yeah. Like, I mean, but it would have to be somebody really good. And
I mean, it would have to be the Lamar Jacksons of the world, the Joe Burrows of the world, which I'm just saying it's not likely that people are going to accept that at this point, but it's worth a shot. And I think I don't think that's outside of the realm of possibility that somebody looks at that trade. They're not competing right now. They're looking to hurt their win column and improve their draft stock.
If I was not competing and I had Burrow, I would trade him for those two quarterbacks in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and
so that's why I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to trade those quarterbacks for one.
Okay.
I mean, I get where you're saying try to consolidate, but I guess I just don't believe in Burrow from a fantasy standpoint.
Well, and I'm not saying Burrow specifically. I'm just saying that category of player, that tier. Yeah. So I think Dak at this point has kind of dropped out of that tier a little bit in most people's eyes. Yeah, just because the injury history is so substantial at this point.
The problem is I don't like that tier that much. Like Kyler scares the shit out of me. He's played like crap the first 2 weeks. Lamar, obviously Lamar was elite today and played well week 1, but Lamar scares me because of the injury factor. Like it's so likely that he's going to have a catastrophic injury as much as he runs.
I mean, but they've been saying that for how many years now?
I mean, I'm a Philly fan, so you can't erase Randall Cunningham.
But, I mean, they've been saying that. I get that, but I'm just saying, like, everybody's been saying that since his rookie season. Like, literally, everybody's been saying that since 2018. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago now.
Yeah,
you know. So,
right. So it's more, and the Dak, more time and how goes on, the more likely it is.
In your mind, it is right, but
in all likelihood,
but how many times has Dak Prescott been injured in between that point and now? Is what I'm saying. So why is his chance of re-injury any less than Lamar Jackson's?
Well, let's just first of all, the thumb injury is a freak thing. It happened to 2 quarterbacks last year, and it can happen to any quarterback. He hit it on a helmet, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, you know, that's not his first injury. It's not like he's had one freak injury.
No, he had a freak injury and a real injury. You know, what was the other one? ACL or broken leg? So, I mean, that was a real injury. Absolutely. But the thumb is fluky to me. It's like getting stepped on.
Yeah. I mean, I just think if you're serious about winning this year, then that's a move that I personally would consider.
Yeah. Well,
because it's just as likely you
about it then. So like, all right. You would do it for Burrow?
I mean, I personally probably wouldn't do it for Burrow, but I know, you know, there are a lot of people that really, really, really think Burrow is in that, you know, or going to be in that Herbert tier of quarterback, that Herbert Allen.
I think he's good. Mahomes. I think he's very good. I think he's near elite, you know, but I just don't think he's Herbert is amazing. Did you see that touchdown he threw with broken rib cartilage?
Yeah, he's really good.
A laser beam when he couldn't even run for a first down. The next play he throws a laser beam for a touchdown. All right. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I think we ran through what the strategies could be, and that's kind of all I really wanted to do. So I don't want to belabor it too much. Let's look. So let's see who has Lamar, and let's see if they're competing.
So I think the whole idea behind that strategy, right, is it is cutting your losses a little bit because you are giving away a little bit of value above what that quarterback that you'd be receiving is, but you're also losing a ton of risk because Dak carries a ton of risk because if he comes back and he doesn't come back strong, then his value is just going to drop. Even just from a perspective standpoint, right? Like the dynasty community is going to like obliterate his value if he doesn't come back strong next season. And then Trey Lance, if he doesn't come back strong, he's done, right? Like,
yeah,
this is going to be his last shot because you're getting closer to that option. So that's the thing with them is just they're carrying a substantial amount of risk compared to the guy that you would be bringing on.
So the team that has Lamar is not contending. It would probably make sense for him. Do you think? All right. So
and maybe try to get something back.
That's what I was about to ask. So if I were to give Lance, Rush, and Dak for Lamar and
Lance who?
Trey Lance.
And I thought you said a third person.
Lance, Cooper Rush.
Okay.
And Dak.
Okay,
so
gotcha. Yeah.
That's only fair, right? That I trade them both those guys.
No, I would hold Cooper Rush if you can. You're competing and he's not. So what's the?
Well, if I'm giving him Dak, I'm going to give him somebody to start, and because I'm also going to ask for Daniel Jones back.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really smart because I think if you ask for a draft pick, he's going to say no because he's obviously not competing. He thinks he's probably high on his draft picks.
Probably.
And he thinks they're going to be, everybody at this point that's not competing thinks it's going to be 101 and 201, right?
Right.
So, I think that's smart because Daniel Jones has not been amazing coming out of the gate. And there is some worry about his job as well.
Yeah. But he's young enough and talented enough that even if he's not the Giants quarterback next year, he's got a chance to be someone else's quarterback.
Yeah. I think the talent is definitely there at worst to be a journeyman quarterback.
Yeah, he's better than Darnold by a lot.
Yeah.
And Darnold got another shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to send that. Lance, Rush, and Dak for Lamar and Daniel Jones.
Let's plug that into DTC and see what they say.
DTC first? Okay, let's do that.
I mean, I would go ahead and do it anyways if I were you, but I just am curious what they would say about that trade. I don't know if they've updated Dak's value yet because I think it updates the next day, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it is automatic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably going to be quite a bit over.
Dak's at 38.
38, okay.
Probably something
like 20 something.
Well,
Lance is 35.5. That is astronomically high.
They haven't updated it. I mean, it just happened today.
Yeah, but even so, like that's just incredibly high to me. 35.5. That's. I mean, are you trade? They're basically saying Dak for Lance in a third. Because Dak is at 38.6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. But
I mean,
maybe I'm lower than the community on Lance. Then
people are really high on Lance. I think I traded him for Breece Hall in the first. I thought that was really a lot, personally.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. I mean, basically the 101 and a 23 first or.
No, it was. I think it was 24 first.
Okay.
So DTC has the side that I'm giving up at 74.2 and the other side at 66.3.
Yeah, so it's not that far off still.
Yeah, and my side they have inflated. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and send this and see what the guy says. What the hell? If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and I expect Lance to drop probably to like around a 25, 26 if I were to guess on where to go after this injury.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, cool. So we worked through that strategy. That's what I wanted to do. All right, so next we're going to move on to some player values, right? We're just going to figure out, what they're worth and what they're going to be worth, and whether we should keep them or trade them and what we got for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want to start with your favorite player in the world, the Tin Man, the Gutless Wonder?
My favorite player in the world. I don't even like him as a player, and I hate the team that he's on. So there's absolutely no bias when I say that Carson Wentz is probably my favorite buy of the offseason, or was my favorite buy of the offseason.
Yeah.
I mean, where he was going is absolutely criminal. What was it? I think I posted in the Patreon chat, in the DWZ Patreon chat earlier today. I think it was like I think it was QB, I think 28 or something. I think it was 28. He was going ADP wise QB 28.
Oh, that's right. That's insane.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. It makes no sense.
He obviously was worth more than that before the season even started.
I was getting him for mid seconds in this offseason, like mid 23 seconds. I got him in one league for a 24 second, and I think it was like a 23 third, I think. 23 third and 24 second, if I don't, maybe they were flipped, I don't remember. Anyways, I got him super cheap a lot of places, and he's just come out the gate. And granted, we don't expect this to continue the whole season, right? Like we'll just come out the gate with that and say he's not going to have these 30-point weeks every week, but he can have 20-point weeks, 18, 19-point weeks, and still outdo his ADP or where he was going this offseason. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. So real quick, our one person in chat, David Donaldson, former guest on the show and Patreon member for Dynasty Warzone, says he got an offer of he's got Dak and he got an offer of Derek Carr and Gibson. He said, no way. What do you say, Chad?
I say I'm with him. No way.
Yeah.
I'm holding on to Dak.
Gibson is garbage. I don't care if he scored a touchdown or not today.
Yeah. I think when at every turn the team is doing everything they can possibly do, like legitimately everything they could possibly do to replace you, then it doesn't really matter if you're, okay in season.
When they bring in a faith healer to lay hands on Brian Robinson, your job is in jeopardy.
I mean, gosh, JD McKissick was all but signed to the Bills, right? Like he was at the facility, he was about to fly out, and they movie style ran to the airport and professed their love to keep him in Washington D.C. So
TSA was like, where's your ticket? Oh, but I'm in love with JD McKissick. Oh, let's get you an escort to the gate. You're in love? Oh, that's the one thing that gets you through TSA.
Yeah, screw post 9/11 TSA security measures. Go ahead. Yeah, but they did everything possible to get him back, and then they drafted a guy in the third round. So that doesn't quite tell me that they're like, we're rocking with Gibson. Yeah.
He's Brian Robinson is a good football player. He's probably going to be a good football player in the NFL, but I don't think he's going to be some star. But they love him so much just because he's not Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. All right. So back to the Tin Man. So Wentz, can I just point out? I mean, he did have a ridiculous play today. He just every day he plays. He is. Did you see it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, in the end zone, which I don't think. I mean, to be fair, right? Like, it wasn't 100% his fault.
He
Like
was
that.
just clueless, as if he was standing on the moon by himself.
Yes. But the play call was absolutely ridiculous. Like
Yes,
the
the play
drop
call was
back,
really bad too.
the drop back in that play was so long, right?
Yeah.
Like he pretty much got to the back of his drop and started throwing the
Yeah,
ball. It was just such a long drop back. That play call was stupid.
it really was.
So I mean, it's not like they just gave him like a two-step drop and was like get rid of it. They had him backing up like 30 step. It was a 30-step drop. He almost went out the back of the end zone. Yeah, I mean, gosh, it was nuts. It was nuts.
I mean, despite that, he did put up good fantasy numbers. They lost.
I mean, great fantasy numbers.
Yes,
great fantasy numbers.
Yes. I mean, he's turning Jahan Dotson into a man.
Yeah.
I mean, Jahan Dotson is a man. But
I mean, he put up 34 points this week and 38 points last week.
Wentz, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Despite having really good defensive players, their defense is a freaking mess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so their defensive line can never stay healthy and just constant injuries, and their scheme is bad. Ron Rivera, I love him. He beat cancer. Seems like a really good guy, but he's not an NFL coach anymore.
I love this game. As long as Wentz keeps putting up 33, 38 points a week, then yeah, I'm a Ron Rivera fan. I'm a fan of everybody in that organization because I have so many shares of Wentz right now.
I hear you. Outside of Daniel Snyder and his executives,
Oh yeah, no, can't. I wasn't even going to mention them, but yeah, I probably shouldn't have said everybody in the organization because the organization at every turn is giving you every reason to dislike them. So yes, yeah, good catch, Jesse. I do not like every person in their organization. I do like the fantasy production that Carson Wentz is having thus far in the season.
Perfect, and it's well known that he's going to use his tight ends, and Logan Thomas is looking good.
Yes.
Got that guy everywhere too, man. I actually picked him off waivers twice last week. I couldn't believe that.
Mm-hmm. He was my guy last year. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do. Well, you kind of opened my eyes to him, and then I got him in every startup I did last year. So I like late,
Yeah.
And in tight end premium leagues, he's valuable. He's going to put up 10 to 20 points every week.
He's one of those guys that's just valuable for production, but just free. Like he's just constantly free. So
don't try to get anything for him, but hoard him.
Yeah, I mean, if you're competing, if you're competing, he's the kind of guy you want, right? Like just those free guys that you can plug in when you need them.
If who cares if he dies on your roster? Who cares if he ages out or if he injuries out or if he just falls out? Who cares? You didn't give up anything for him.
Just love him and hold his hand on his deathbed.
Exactly. In the meantime, he's a startable flex and backup tight end. And a good one.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm trying really hard. We're recording during the Packers-Bears game, and I know this is coming out on podcast. I'm trying really hard not to talk about it, but David Montgomery is running with purpose this evening.
Yeah, I know. I turned it off because I knew I'd be like extremely distracted because I have Montgomery in my really high buy-in league, and the game is really close. So I'm very nervous.
I am in the same situation. I'm in the same situation, but I have Khalil Herbert.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't turn it off. My choices were like Khalil Herbert, who just got the ball. Sorry. Oh my God. Khalil Herbert, I'm sorry, is an excellent running back. I don't want to say he's better than David Montgomery because they're different players. And Montgomery has that elite violence, that Carson or Chris Carson had. RIP.
Why is it why is it so popular to shit on David Montgomery? I still don't understand.
Because I don't know. Well, number one, he plays for the Bears, right? And nobody ever wants the running back or the non-dynamic, power back.
Yeah, he's not
on
sexy.
A bad team, right? He's categorized as slow, and the guy will wreck you. Don't meet up with David Montgomery head on. Don't meet up with him in a dark alley and say something bad about his mom. You know what I mean? Just be nice to David Montgomery and try to tackle him low. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, I mean, even last season, like he put up 850 rushing yards in what was it, 12 games?
Yeah, he was excellent last year. Well, I thought he really found himself last year too. He really found that I refuse to go down thing that power backs need to have. And maybe it's because his first couple of years he didn't look great. Looks a lot better now, I would say. But yeah, Khalil Herbert just put up some points.
Nice. So who's our next player?
Okay, next player is. Oh no, I'm sorry, we're not done with Gutless.
We didn't even talk about Wentz's trade value at all.
What? I mean, obviously you're not getting him for what you got him for in the offseason, but what are you getting him for? I'm not giving a first for him. Nobody.
No, I don't think anybody at this point. I think it's going to get there though. I mean, if he keeps playing like this, it's going to get there. Oh, for sure. Okay. I mean, maybe not a 23 first because the buy-in on those is so astronomically high right now. But
25 first.
If this goes for 2 more weeks, if he's still QB6, QB5, or what is he, QB4 right now? If he's no, I think he's higher than that. I think he's QB2 or something stupid. I think he's QB2 after Lamar or somebody. Anyways, I don't know.
It doesn't really matter to me after 2 weeks.
But I mean, I'm just saying, if
he's putting up numbers.
Yeah, if he stays in this bracket for 3 or 4 more weeks, right? Can you? I mean, can you realistically give him up for anything less than a first? You can't.
A 25 first sounds fair to me.
I think even a 24 first at that point. If we're approaching mid-season and he's still in form in a QB1, you can't. I mean, he's not that old.
That's a big if though, because I mean, let's not forget that Tyler Heineken looked really good at this point last year too, and was putting up numbers at this.
I mean, not this good. Not this good. I mean,
not this good. You're right.
Wentz looks really good, and if he
weapons.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously that helps, but I mean, I think there's quite a number of players that have better weapons than he does.
Sure, but he's got better weapons. I mean, the weapons are upgraded this year, so I mean, I guess that speaks to his ability to maintain a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just saying, first 2 games in an offense, and you're throwing your first 2 games, you've thrown 7 touchdowns, yeah. I mean. I think obviously I don't think he's going to keep this up. I've said that a number of times now, but I think he's going to have a really good season. I think he's going to finish somewhere. If I had to put money on it, I would say somewhere around QB 12, 13 for me, which I think I'm not giving that up for anything less than a first.
And the crazy thing is he still might do enough stupid things to not be their quarterback next year.
I guess it depends. It depends on how he's playing. I think if he's throwing 3 touchdowns every game, he can have the stupid plays, especially because I don't think that roster.
If he turns the ball over 3 times while he's throwing those 3 touchdowns, which is very possible for him.
Yeah, but I mean he's had some turnovers so far in the season, but they haven't been crazy. They haven't been any crazier than Joe Burrow's throwing a lot more interceptions.
Joe Burrow looks like shit.
Yeah, I'm just saying, there's a difference between that Washington team and that Indy team he was in last year, right? That Indy team, they expected to go deep into the playoffs. So they had that expectation that, hey, when we get here, we brought you in to do the job to bring us there. I don't think that Washington has any aspirations of a deep playoff run. I think that if you get good quarterback play, from a statistical standpoint, and he, maybe is a little bit turnover heavy, but still not in the top of the league bracket. That's better quarterback play than they've had forever. Like, they haven't had that kind of quarterback in a long, 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 long time.
Yeah.
So they're going to hold on to him, I think, in my opinion. And that's just from me watching the NFC East for so long. You watch the NFC East a lot too. When's the last time Washington had a good quarterback?
I can't think of one.
That's what I'm saying. So why? Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say was Theismann. Why would they get rid of him?
Yeah, RG3 was good for a season.
For a season, yeah, for one season, you're right.
Oh, Kirk Cousins was really good for them.
Kirk Cousins, that's who it is. Yeah, gosh, I forget. That feels like a lifetime ago.
It does. They were idiots the way they handled that.
Yeah, that was
the way they handle everything. That's why they're the Commanders. They're the idiots for the way they handled renaming their team. That's why
I think that was the perfect storm, though, because he obviously wanted the record-breaking contract at the time, and he was perfectly happy to take the franchise tags. I don't know if you remember, but it was like something stupid, like 3 franchise tags in a row.
Yeah.
Or was it? I know it was at least 2. I don't know if they got to the third one or not.
I think it was 2. Right, it was 2, and they were going like everyone. There was the speculation, and then they traded him to Minnesota.
That's right. So
they've given him insane contracts.
Yes, I think they were scared. Amazing. I think they were scared to re-sign him on that big of a contract because he was a nobody coming into the NFL, and he wasn't playing to that super elite level to where he could, you could say, okay, he's a, Tom Brady out of the 7th round. But he also was, the best quarterback they've had in a long time. So yeah, they should have locked him up.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of Kirk Cousins and all of the crazy money he's made, here's another crazy one. Chase Daniels has made $41.8 million in his 13-year NFL career. Right?
Yeah.
That is 5 starts. $8.3 million per start. 8 touchdowns, $5.2 million per touchdown, 71 games, $589,000 per game, 261 passes, $160,000 per pass. Chase Daniels.
Congratulations to that man.
Right? It's not like he's the man with the golden arm.
Yeah, greatest job in the world. I guess there's something to be said for somebody that goes in and puts their nose to the grindstone and does their job well and helps out and is a good person, I guess.
I guess.
People just want him around, and that's the going rate for a backup quarterback,
When he was the backup for the Eagles for a year, and when Vic left, he thought he should be given an opportunity to start and got all mad and demanded a trade.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, next player.
Yeah, when we drafted Wentz. So anyway, next player is why don't you throw out a player?
Okay. How about I'm trying to get to my list that I sent you.
Oh, okay.
You throw one out.
All right, fine. We'll go Saquon. So my boy, my favorite running back in the NFL.
What is with this? You're an Eagles fan and you're picking a Giant, and I'm a Giants fan and I'm picking I keep wanting to say the R word, but a Commander.
Yeah, I just said it.
Yeah.
Couldn't just flew out. He's Penn State, man.
Yeah,
we are. That's my entire family. What can I do?
Penn State, the gold standard. Him and Miles Sanders.
Oh wow, Nicholas Singleton.
Yeah.
He looks good.
Yeah, he does.
So anyway, Saquon Barkley. So in the offseason, he wasn't worth shit. You couldn't. You probably could have gotten like a contenders 24 first for him. Right?
Really? Was it that low?
It really was. I tried, and I was getting really crap offers. Right. So at this point, obviously, Saquon didn't have like an elite week 2, but he did week 1. But what he showed in both weeks is he's the guy, right? He's the 3-down back. There's nobody else getting touches, and it's really hard to find these guys in the NFL.
Yeah.
And if you wait 2 or 3 more weeks, everybody's going to realize that, right? So what's he worth? What's he really worth? What's he worth to you, right? You're a rebuilding team and you need to sell your running back at his peak value. What is this his peak value? You're trading him now, you're trading him in mid-season, and what do you expect to get?
Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm waiting till mid-season because I do believe that he's gonna be pretty productive.
Yeah.
And he's flashy, right? And flashy players sell. People see, two players that have the same production, but one of them, looks super flashy on the field, is doing all kinds of juke moves and stuff, and people are like, oh, that player is, they start making even further projections for that player. So
yeah, he has big splash plays.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go mid-season because people, yeah, if he continues the season this way and he can get a couple, 2 or 3 more games of 100 plus, total yards and a few touchdowns, I think people are going to start remembering that rookie season. And yeah, I think you'll start approaching the territory of, 2 firsts.
What I want people to realize is, is the role. I mean, name another player that really has the role locked down as much as him.
Yeah, there's not. I mean,
there's not. It's not even Jonathan Taylor. Saquon doesn't have a Nyheim Hines to contend with. Not that he's some elite back, but he steals some catches, and Saquon is the receiving back as well.
Yeah. No, I mean he is the 3 down back in the traditional sense, and not saying obviously there's more than one 3 down back in the NFL as far as prototypes go. I'm saying he's a 3 down back, that is the role he actually has. He is there every single play unless he takes himself out.
Donaldson in chat says King Henry, but I disagree. Deontay Hilliard, what?
Well, it's just the passing downs, right?
Right, exactly. So his receiving back had 2 receiving touchdowns last week.
Yeah, I'm not saying
not a 3 down back.
I'm not saying that King Henry's snap percentage is not going to be extremely high. I'm saying that, as far as targets go,
right.
Saquon is going to see those targets. So really, right, at that point with Derrick Henry, the snap percentage is a little misleading because he might have a ton of snaps compared to a lot of other running backs, but he's still just not going to get the targets that a lot of the running backs are going to have. They're going to game plan in other ways. Whereas with the Giants, he's a 3 down back and they're using him as a receiving option in that 3 down back structure.
Right. Yeah, that's my whole point. It's CMC and Dalvin, I guess, are the others.
Yeah. So yeah, CMC for sure. 100%. And Dalvin too. Yep. Trying to think of any other ones. I think that's it, right?
Hilliard's on IR. I forgot about that. But I mean, it's obvious that they don't like him for the receiving role. If they're gonna,
it's just if they have a better option, they're gonna explore that option. The Giants don't think that there is anybody they can bring in to take that role. I mean, Matt Breida is a receiving running back,
but he's only in there when Saquon needs a playoff.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He is a receiving option. He could be used in that role, but the Giants are saying no. Yeah, Saquon that's his role.
Right. He doesn't get his own series. He doesn't come in on 3rd downs. It's Saquon's, right? So anyway, now that we've made that, we've hammered that point home. What's he worth? Right. So what's he worth to you? What would I have to give you on, you're a rebuilding team. I'm a contender. I need a running back. What would I have to give you?
I think the tough thing now is that really for what I think is realistic to trade him for at the moment, I'm not trading him for that, which I think that's probably a 1st and a 2nd, right? I think that's it right now. I don't think you're going to get
that's what you think that's what you can get for him right now.
Yes, I think that now that's all you're going to get for him. I don't think that you can get anything more, and I wouldn't throw out
Hell no.
options for 2 firsts at this point. Like I don't think anybody's going to give that to you. I think it's a waste of time. And if I'm trading Saquon Barkley, I'm not going to go, give me 225 firsts. Like that's just
No.
not. I want something pretty immediate. I want at least
I want
a
a
23 first and a 24 first at the very least.
and I want 2 seconds.
Oh, really? Wow, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Okay.
lot.
We just went through why this man is elite.
Yeah,
So,
but there's
and
you
he's
I
25.
yeah, there's the injury history I think you have to take
Sure.
into account as well.
Okay. All right. So I guess we need a couple more weeks to convince you. So, all right. I want 2 firsts and 2 seconds for Saquon, and I'll probably throw in like an expiring veteran, like a Landry type,
I don't think there's any running back. I don't think
just to
there's
give you some depth.
any running back of Saquon's age that I'm giving 2 firsts and 2 seconds to
Right.
get.
I mean,
That's just me personally. But I'm very like sell running back heavy. Like I sold Jonathan Taylor as soon as I could.
I mean, I got it for Dalvin and Chubb last year. I got for Zeke, who has, everybody thinks he's on the decline.
You said you traded Dalvin and Chubb for Saquon?
No. I got 2 firsts and 2 seconds for both of those players last year.
But okay, so these first you're talking about, like I'm talking about 23, 20, like I'm talking about either the year of the draft you're in or the next year.
Yeah, there were 22 and 23 firsts.
Really?
Yeah, mostly 22 firsts because people even then were like valuing their 23 firsts more. So I was like, fine, give me your 22 firsts.
So somebody gave you 2 firsts and 2 seconds for Chubb.
And Ernest Johnson.
Wow. Yeah, that just seems like a lot to me. I wouldn't do it.
I
would take that. I would take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I got the same thing for Dalvin and Alexander Madison.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nuts. That's nuts. I guess I'm just lower on running backs because
when you get into the middle of the season, people start realizing that they need running backs. Like they have to fill these spots and they're losing games and they want to score points. And I'm telling you, people get desperate.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'm
gonna get 2 firsts for Derrick Henry too.
I guess I've just bought low on so many running backs. Like this actually in one of the Patreon leagues, it was P6. I traded Chubb and I traded Chubb for Christian McCaffrey and Sutton when CMC was hurt.
Wait, I'm sorry. Say that again.
Last year, I traded before last offseason, I traded Chubb for CMC and Cortland Sutton when Sutton's value was low. Well, Sutton's value was really low and CMC was hurt. So that's just the way I approach running backs. I'm never going to buy high on a running back. I'm always going to buy low if I can on a running back.
I get you. I'm with you. I don't do it anymore either. I did it early in my a couple years ago. Talk to me. I would have done it, and I did do it. But I don't do it anymore. But trust me, there are a lot of people out there that do.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that just want to build around running backs.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's my mistake, right? Maybe part of my flaw of playing Dynasty is that I approach trading from sometimes from the way I approach the game, like the logic that I have in approaching fantasy. And maybe sometimes it's wrong. Maybe sometimes you have to approach it, look more or get more in touch with a consensus, which I try to do, but I didn't think that people were giving up 2 firsts and 2 seconds in the immediate future for Chubb. Like that just seems a lot.
Things pass us by. Chubb, when Kareem Hunt went down, Chubb got a really big boost in value.
Yeah.
Okay. And things pass us by. Like you were all over selling Michael Carter for a first last year in season. I missed the boat on that because I didn't realize consensus was that high on him.
Yeah.
I thought everybody was like, oh, he's worth a second, maybe 2 seconds, like I thought. But apparently you were selling him for first. So, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you just miss that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking at my Excel doc right now. 4 Michael Carter shares I sold for 4 firsts.
Wow. I wish you know what I mean? Like that passed me
Yeah.
by. I was just like, oh, all right. I guess I got a nice little complimentary back on my roster now, that I paid a second for. That's good. I
Yeah.
didn't realize people were like, oh, this guy's the man.
Well, that's the crazy thing about those specific situations, right? Is that people people lock themselves in with the idea of a player before they get to the NFL, and then if the player shows that value a little bit, like shows that, or not value but talent, shows that talent a little bit, even if it's just a little bit, they're gonna say, okay, I was right. I'm gonna go and get him.
Yeah, they double count it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, that's something I never do. If I miss on a player, I miss on a player.
I missed. Yeah.
I'm not gonna spend my resources chasing it.
Yep. Yep.
And same with if I miss on a pick that I actually made, I'm not gonna start doubling down on it. You know what I mean? Like I missed on Trey Sermon a lot last year. I really thought he was a really good fit for the Niners, and evidently not, because he's not even on the Niners anymore.
Yeah, you picked a lot of Trey Sermon. I remember that.
I did.
A lot, everywhere.
I was high on him.
Yeah.
I probably have 5 shares over 16 leagues. That's a lot.
That's a ton, yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't go chasing after Elijah Mitchell once everybody realized he had the job. I'm not going to spend more resources trying to lock that down. You know what I mean?
And I think that's smart, because a lot of people would go, okay, I have Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance will be the guy. I'm going to go out there. Or, yeah, Trey Sermon, sorry. Gosh. All these Niners. All these Treys.
Yeah, all these Treys.
Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon, I think he'll be the guy. I'll go out there and buy, Elijah Mitchell and roll with him until Trey Sermon takes over, and then he'll be worth a ton because he's young and blah, blah, blah. I think some people go with that,
right,
and try to compete with Elijah Mitchell, and then are so sold that Trey Sermon's going to be a thing because they tell themselves that. Not that Trey Sermon specifically, but just
that thought did enter my mind. Example. I just pushed it out. I just told myself, no, don't do that.
Yep.
A bust is a bust. Especially in the second round. If your second round player doesn't hit, he doesn't hit.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Go out and get more second rounders. They're not that hard to get.
The other thing that I see people do a lot too, kind of along the same lines, is they see a player, like let's say the recent example that I like that I always kind of bring up is Elijah Moore, right? Mm-hmm. So Elijah Moore was going for the 203, 204, 205 range in rookie drafts, right?
Right.
At least when I was drafting.
Right next to Trey Sermon.
Yeah, exactly.
And Michael Carter.
So he was going somewhere in that range, depending on who you were drafting with. And then as the offseason goes along, he starts going up and up and up and up and up and up in ADP. And everybody falls in love with this guy. And people I'm talking to in Dynasty Warzone and in the Patreon and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I went out and spent a first and a second on Elijah Moore. I spent a first and a third on Elijah Moore," and I'm like, "Why? Why are you doing this, guys? Like, look at it from. I know you like the player, right? You like the player. You want to share, great, but you have to be willing to miss on the player. And what I mean by that is, you say, okay." The player is number one playing for the Jets, who have a rookie quarterback, a rookie head coach, and Robert Saleh was a rookie head coach at that point in time. New offense, and it's just a bad team overall, right? So he's going to struggle early.
Right.
People didn't spend a crazy amount on him to get him in the rookie draft. It's not like he was the 101 or 103 or 104. So people's expectations for him, as far as if he starts, going down on a production, from a production standpoint, they're going to be a little bit more, they're going to ding him a little bit more because he didn't have that draft capital initially. So just wait until he inevitably struggles and then buy him. If he doesn't struggle, And you're right, and he does really well, which is a possibility, right? But it's just a rare possibility, especially for a player in that situation.
Right.
But if he is the outlier and he does extremely well, go out and spend a little bit extra than that first and go try to get him then and across your leagues, and you are going to get him somewhere, right? But
Absolutely.
it's more likely that he's going to struggle. So why now?
Yeah, exactly. This is the strategy that we're talking about. This is the reason we're doing player values, right? This is why we're doing player values now, and that we'll keep doing them through the season so that you guys don't make mistakes, on players like that. So yeah, but that kind of falls also into preseason hype sort of category. I don't buy players on preseason hype.
Yeah.
I almost did actually a little while ago. And this past week, actually, our old buddy Mike Casper and I were working a deal. He was a little salty that he traded AJ Brown to me last year and wanted him back. So he offered me CeeDee Lamb, but this is after Dak went down, right? He offered me CeeDee Lamb straight up. Why the hell would I do that? Would you do that?
CeeDee Lamb straight up for AJ Brown at this point, and I'm keeping AJ Brown.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so I sent him.
Yeah, that's crazy because in the offseason, I think probably 99.9% of people are snatching that up.
Right. So, but after Dak goes down, obviously it's different. So, he also so I countered with CeeDee Lamb and Ayuk, and he rejected that. And then I sent another one, and I'm so glad he didn't take it. It was CeeDee Lamb and Pacheco for AJ Brown. And he goes, let me think on it, let me sleep on it or whatever. And I pulled it. I realized that it was a stupid offer, and thank God he didn't accept it. But that would have been chasing preseason hype. And that's just kind of
sure.
For
sure.
I just, if it's too much situation, not enough talent for Pacheco.
Yeah.
All right. So you want to go like 15 more minutes?
Yeah, let's do 15 more minutes. We'll knock out a few players a little bit more in a rapid pace. And
all right, let's do a little more rapid fire. Do you have another player on deck, or do you want me to throw one out?
Go ahead and throw one out. I'll throw out the next one.
All right, so Gabe the Goliath. So last time we saw him, he was putting up 5 touchdowns in a playoff game, and then he comes out week 1 and puts up 78, 80 yards and a touchdown. Looked really good. Has he matured? Has he become the player we wanted him to be?
I don't know. I'm not sold yet.
Okay.
He's had the same little game that he's kind of.
It's not a little game though.
No, but he's had these games, right? Like, this is not the first time we've seen this game in season. He's had the 5 receptions for 85 yards, the 3 receptions for 105 yards. He's had these like low target, low reception, high yardage games before, in season. We just need him to do that consistently, which is a really tough ask for a player. When you're only getting 5 targets, to do that consistently over the course of a season, that's tough. That's really tough.
Agreed. Yeah, I feel like it's a good sell high moment for Gabe Davis right now. If he backs it up on in week 2, I feel like you're going out this week and trying to get good value for him first. Going into the season, you could not. Right. So I guess that's my question. Can you get a first for him?
I honestly don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know the answer to that, but I wouldn't, if I had to put, if I had to guess, I would say no.
I wouldn't sell him for less than that.
Would you sell him for 2 seconds? Because I would.
Would you?
Yeah, I would for sure. 100%.
Mm.
Especially if one of them was early. If I projected one
Mm.
of them to be early, I
Yeah.
would take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would do it.
That's
Yeah,
just
I
me
guess so. If it
personally.
was an early 23 second, that's tempting, I guess.
Because
Because it's a deep class.
I just know that with a guy like him, where his draft capital is not super high, where and that's I'm not saying anything about the player. I'm just talking about perception of the player, right? Like this is not a hit at Gabe Davis because I like Gabe Davis a lot. I'm just saying the perception of the player, right, which is where the value stems from. Uh if he's not able to keep that consistent 17 yards um per target efficiency, which is crazy, 17.6 yards per target per target. Like that's crazy.
Yes.
If he can't keep that up, his value is going to drop again.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to take that right now, especially if I have multiple shares and just cut my losses with it. If he comes out, this week and has a ton of targets, and then maybe I'm saying, okay, like maybe I hold and see, but I not really. I don't want to do that. If I'm honest with you, I would sell him for 2 seconds.
So you think this is his peak value? Because I know you're big on selling guys at peak value.
So no, I don't know that it's his peak value. My thing is where you have very high risk players, right? You have to make the you have to take the risk into consideration and say, okay, maybe this is not his peak value. But if I have 2 or 3 shares of him and I get 2 seconds across the board and I paid a fourth for him in a rookie draft, right? Then fine. Like I'm okay with that. If I miss out on a first round pick, but I got 2 seconds, I'm cool, right? Because it could easily be a third next year.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, he was a third. Yeah, he was like a third rounder, right?
I got him everywhere. I think I got him in the fourth everywhere.
Fourth every. Yeah, okay. So he
Yeah.
was late. I have tons of Gabe Davis. I got him and I think I got him and Chark for a second and a third. Was the only time I traded for him in the offseason. So that's kind of what I put his base value at.
Yeah. I wish I could take the credit for Gabe Davis. I literally had like a 70% share of him coming out of rookie drafts because he was, basically going for nothing. But that was all thanks to Daniel Jeremiah and the Move the Sticks podcast. They were raving about him, and they made the point that he was the only guy in that offense with that size and with that speed, the size and speed combo, and that he was going to have a role because they're looking for a guy with that size speed combo. They hadn't been able to find one that they really liked, and they brought him in because they really liked him. And I thought that was a really compelling argument, even with the lack of draft capital that he had. So I thought he was worth the risk, with that, very minimal risk of that fourth round pick. So got him everywhere.
Right on. He was, I think that was the year I did a lot of my first startups. So, I was just high on his skill set coming out. So I got a lot of him late in startups. So I just have a lot of him. And then I got him cheap in some trades too, like as throw-ins.
Yeah. Yep.
From you a couple times actually, so it's probably because you had so much of them.
Yeah, I had him legitimately everywhere, and I have that for players that are worth anything. I have a 30%, roughly 30% target share, kind of benchmark. So yeah, that makes sense that I would trade a few of them.
I think I personally want to hold for a really big splash game from him, and then try to trade him. I really want to get a first for him.
But what happens if that splash game, right, comes after 3 weeks of 3 targets, 30 yards?
Right. You're right. I mean, that's the risk, and there's risk in holding any player. So just real quick,
but his risk is immediate risk, right? Like you can lose value on him tomorrow off of a bad game.
Sure, but let's talk about just a quick callback to Saquon. The immediate risk is that he gets hurt right now. He's a running back with an injury history, and his value just tanks. You're never.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a false equivalency in my opinion, just because of the production standpoint, I don't think you can compare the potential production of the two players.
Well, no, and the return either. But
I mean, yeah, but if you're on a competing team, right? Like you're trying to win. You're trying to win games. So do I think that Gabe Davis is going to I just don't think that Gabe Davis is going to win you a ton of games this year. That's just the way I see him personally. I think Saquon has the potential to win you a ton of games this year.
Yeah, well, agreed. Absolutely. So, I mean, I see Gabe Davis as a like if I would put him in my flex pretty much every week.
Yeah.
On a contending
Yeah.
team.
I like have him I have him in a number of places with because I have a ton of Christian Kirk from this offseason too. And Christian Kirk has kind of like outpaced him on my flex spots for the majority of my leagues that I have both of them in. So I probably will sell him in a couple of other places.
It's funny to me that Christian Kirk changed teams and became the undisputed number one receiver on his team and then lost value, sort of. Like people are down on him. He looks freaking great, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
the appearance of failure, right? Like they say, okay, he left Arizona, so he failed, so he just wasn't good.
Well, and I think that people didn't think he was worth his contract, so that makes him not a good player.
Yeah,
that whole thing is just odd to me. I scooped up a bunch of Christian Kirk too.
Yeah, he was super cheap. Yeah,
like he's Brandon Cooks cheap.
I think he was cheaper than Brandon Cooks, to be honest with you.
I got him in the same range, you know.
I got him as a throw-in in a couple of deals, and then granted they were like, high value deals. And then I got him straight up for like, late seconds, basically.
I was getting him in seventh, eighth, ninth rounds of startups. As like a wide receiver 3 and 4.
Yeah.
It's too cheap.
Yeah, super cheap. Okay, next player.
Right. Next player, you got a quarterback you wanted to talk about that freaked out in week 2.
Oh gosh. Who are we talking about?
Tua terrific.
I thought we talked about Tua.
We have not. We talked briefly about the Dolphins, but we didn't talk about Tua.
Gosh, yeah, you can tell I'm exhausted. I swear I remember a full-fledged conversation of Tua.
Wow, really?
But yeah, now I'm remembering that I made all that up. So, yeah.
Chad's day today. Fell down a well, eyes went crossed. Got kicked by a horse, eyes went straight. Decided to do a podcast.
That's exactly it. Tua Tagovailoa decided that he was an elite quarterback today.
Yes, he did. At least in the fourth quarter, anyway. Yeah. Jesus did his best Matt Stafford impression from when he was with early in his career with the Lions. I mean, Jesus. In fact, I don't think Stafford ever did that. Stafford used to he was famous for the fourth quarter, like I'm down 40 points and I'll come back halfway.
Yeah,
I'll throw 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Jesus Christ. Well, I mean, never had Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Whoever said that they weren't a good match for each other?
Yeah. Like having 2 elite players on the same team is ever a bad thing. Yeah, never.
Right. And they're going to shut up. They're not going to steal anything from each other. Every elite offense has 2 elite wide receivers. That's how it goes. That's how it is.
Tyreek and Waddle are wide receiver 1 and 2 on the week thus far.
Oh yeah, they are. Hell yeah, they are.
That is nuts.
Yeah, it is.
That is nuts.
Tua looked so good doing it too. Did you watch any of it?
Yeah. I watched like maybe 10 minutes of it.
Just
10 football minutes of it, not 10 real minutes. Gotcha.
But just running around like really looked athletic, speed. Was throwing well on the run, like turning his body when he rolled out to the right and accurately. I mean, he's just so accurate, and that I think the left-handed delivery really does mess with defenses. Obviously, Tyreek Hill destroying defenses helps.
Tyreek Hill, yeah, doing Tyreek Hill things.
Lord, He did the same shit he was doing in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
God. I mean,
Jalen Waddle had 19 targets.
11 catches, right?
Yeah.
My wife was watching. Christy, my wife, was watching with me because that was the Ravens game, and we live in Baltimore. So she asked me to put it on towards the end and turn it off red zone. So yeah, no problem. She goes, "Oh, who's that little dude? He looks like that guy from the Chiefs. You know, that little fast guy from the Chiefs that's awesome?" I'm like, "That's the little fast guy from the Chiefs. That's awesome."
Yeah.
She's like, "No way." She's like, "Oh yeah, there's the peace sign. That guy's awesome."
He is. That he is.
She's not a real Ravens fan, obviously.
Yeah. I don't even understand what happened. What was it? 5 or 6 touchdowns?
He threw 6 total.
6.
He had one. I think he just had the one to Waddle going into the 4th, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
And by the way, Waddle's touchdowns are elite.
Waddle is elite.
Both of his first 2 touchdowns this season were they were like seam routes where he got past 2 defenders. Like it's like you're not supposed to beat a double team in that situation and then take it to the house.
Yep.
I'm telling you, Tua is going to be way better than people expected. Am I right?
Yeah. And to think I just traded him away.
That was still a good trade.
Yeah, it's still a good trade. It's going to be a good trade even if he becomes like
exactly. Even if he's an elite quarterback, you got enough.
I guess we should just say like I got him for
let's talk about
3 firsts, Matt Ryan, and who else was it?
I thought it was 2 firsts.
No, it was 3.
Oof. You're like, yeah, I got him to throw in Matt Ryan and somebody else ridiculous as well.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm gonna look up
because one of them was a. Let me pull it up real quick.
I got it here. You got all right. So you traded Tua, Chark, and Teddy Bridgewater. Tua's backup. Okay, for 3 firsts. A 24 first and 2 25 first, but they're still firsts.
Yeah.
Jimmy G, Matt Ryan, and Tyquan Thornton. How the hell did you get those other 3 things?
I just asked very nicely.
So I mean that's sick.
I just told him, and it's one of those. So I will throw this in there because I know that some people have qualms with the evaluation of a immediate first to a very late first. I think if you're in a safe league, if you're in a safe space, so to speak, where the league is going to be around, who cares, right? Which is the context with that league.
Absolutely.
So if it's just some random league you've joined and you're like, the commissioner can shut this down at any point, that's when you're like, okay, these 23 firsts.
Then I just threw it
money in hand.
Yeah, I've been throwing away my entry fee.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So so this is a safe league. And yeah, I'm a rebuilding team and was like, first for me at this point. So give me all the firsts. And that makes 12 firsts that I have over the next 3 years. So should be a fun rebuild.
Early in the off season before the NFL draft, I got Tua for the 103. Because I wasn't big on the 103 this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Obviously, probably I should have, because Garrett Wilson looks amazing. But I did take Garrett Wilson, but I had a lot of 103s. So I took Garrett Wilson a good amount. But I also traded a couple times, and one of them I got Tua. And, man, at the time I felt like it was a win. And now, man, I feel like that's through the roof. So I guess my question regarding Tua is, are you keeping him as a cornerstone player, or are you getting what you can for him?
It depends. It depends. I have him in actually that Fantasy Darlings league that we're in together. I have him in that league, and I don't think I would trade him for what I think he would bring. I mean, obviously the 3 first is a bit real. I mean, unrealistic. Like that trade just happened because
I don't think he's even worth that now.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like I don't think you can get that now. If somebody offered me that now, I would take it again. But I just think that guy was drinking or really like Tua or something. I don't know. Anyways,
like Tua. I really like Tua too, but I'm not. I don't make trades like that.
But yeah, so even in a rebuild, I think I'm holding just because. Yeah, I mean, you're seeing it, so you might as well hold for a little bit longer. Even if he doesn't perform well down the stretch, I think there's still time to move him for for a different for a decent return. So I'm not as scared of Tua
All he has
as
to
I
do,
maybe would have been if this game didn't happen. And I know that sounds reactionary, but really it's you just want to see it at least once and say, okay, this offense can be special with him in it.
It really, I mean, obviously. Yeah. What man, it's going to be amazing next year when they get a running back too.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there are a lot of really damn good running backs. Elite. There are some elite running backs coming out next year, and even if they don't get one, if they don't spend a high pick on one, what's going to happen is these elite running backs that come out are going to kind of displace some veterans. Some really good veterans are going to end up either not being re-signed because the team has a plan to draft a guy, or getting cut, when they still have something left in the tank. And I see Miami, they seem to be sort of like Niners mold, opportunistic with their running back. So they probably, I wouldn't expect them to go out and get Bijan, or
we'll see.
Jahmyr Gibbs would be really good in this offense.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Can you imagine Jahmyr Gibbs with his receiving ability in this offense would be just amazing.
Yeah.
But like I said, even if not, just there are going to be displaced veterans. And I see Miami picking up a real running back next year. And damn, this offense is going to be good.
Yeah. So as far
that, I mean, I'm just saying that's a reason to believe in Tua.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I agree. As far as Tua's outlook goes for the season, what would you be happy with? I guess I'll phrase it that way.
Like what, for season-ending numbers? Or
yeah, not numbers, but finish. Let's just talk about it from.
I want to see 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. 35. But I had Tua as my QB.
Put a number on it, like QB. Yeah, QB 10.
I had him as my
15.
QB 13, 14 coming into the season, and right now, he's moving up. I don't know. He's probably moving above David Carr for me right now.
Yeah, he's way above David Carr for me.
He's.
I don't think David Carr at this point is not worth anything.
Not worth anything? He had a good day.
Where, at NFL Network?
Did he threw for 250 and 2 touchdowns, didn't he?
In his backyard? Oh, you're talking about Derek Carr.
Oh, did I say David Carr?
Yeah, you said David Carr. I'm just messing with you. But yeah, you definitely said David Carr like twice. Like,
dude, I thought you were on board with the Derek Carr. Come on, man. He had a decent day. I mean, come on.
I'm like, yeah, definitely have Tua above David Carr at the moment, for sure. I'm 100% on board with that.
I'm saying, I think I have him above Derek Carr, and this is really hard for me to say. Really hard for me to say, but might have him above Russ.
Yeah, I think for me, and I'm not saying you're wrong. Why is
Russ playing so bad, by the way?
Yeah, so I'm not saying you're wrong, right? Like we've obviously, we've only seen 2 weeks, so I tend not to let myself swing too drastically in the other direction.
Right. Great
at this point. At this point, I would be super ecstatic with Tua finishing as any kind of QB1 this season. Like, I would be happy with that.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, because that's above what I projected him.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. If he can get there now, like I'm very, very happy with that. Carr, for me, if he's not above like that QB7 range, like that's a letdown in my opinion. I think he
Really?
has to be there. Yeah,
Oh,
with
I didn't have him that high.
no, I that's not where like I hold him as a value from a value standpoint. I'm talking
No,
about
I
purely
just mean it
production.
from a production. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't
I
think he
think he
would be that
has
high.
he has to be there because
What do you mean by that?
his value increase after especially after the offensive additions led me to believe that people thought he was going to be a more productive quarterback than your Kirk Cousins, than your Tannehills, and those guys are routinely finishing in your QB7, QB8, QB9, QB10 range.
But he never really got that value bump.
He
Like
did get the value bump. He
well,
for sure got the value bump.
in practicality, like what I'm saying is, did you trade him for that? Like
Yes, he
for
got the value. Oh, for sure he got the value bump.
okay, what
There
did you
was a
get
point in
for
the
him?
offseason where I was trying to acquire Derek Carr and I couldn't get him. That's why I remembered specifically.
I got him for
And
a late first and a late second.
yeah, I don't think I mean, obviously, the offseason comes in waves, right? Like at different points players are worth different things. And
Yeah, I mean that was during the draft, so picks are worth a lot at that
yeah,
point.
but after the after the offseason additions, after the dust was settled and people started getting excited about that offense, yeah, I mean it was at least in my leagues, it was tough to get him. It
Yeah,
was tough
I
to get
haven't
him.
been able to trade him. I guess I'll put it that way. Like I haven't really even entered into like serious discussions of trading him.
Mm.
Nobody's wanted to give me even like high QB2 value for him,
Well,
which is weird because I thought he was a QB value like before he got Devontae Adams.
yeah, so if you
You
can,
know?
but even if you can, like, let's say that his going price was a mid first and early second projection, right? Which I think for me in my leagues, like that's about what people were asking for
Okay.
um at his height this offseason. You compare that to a guy like Kirk Cousins, who at some point this offseason was going for mid second, right? Derek Carr has to finish a better quarterback. Like your value is telling me you have to finish a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins. Like that's where you should be projected. If
The only
not,
difference
then the value doesn't make any sense.
the only difference between Carr and Cousins is I think there's a I think there's a perception. Well, Cousins is older, and I think there's a perception that he may not be their quarterback for much longer.
How old do you
Whereas
think Derek Carr is?
33.
Derek Carr's 31, Cousins is 34. They're only 3 years apart. For
Okay,
quarterbacks,
that's a
that's
big
not that
3 years,
much.
though. That's a
I
big
don't
three
think.
years.
I mean, if you're talking about a mid second to a first and early, I don't think. I just
Yeah,
don't think the discrepancy. I don't think that passes the smell
agreed.
test for me.
Agreed. It's not the age alone. I think it's the perception of the Cousins contract and that they may move on.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
then that also could be short sighted because Kirk Cousins is just obviously a starting NFL quarterback, so
yeah, he's gonna get a
there's a
job
really
anywhere,
good chance he gets a job.
and it's probably gonna be for a good team because
Like,
only
what the
good
hell would
teams are gonna go out
Seattle?
there and get Kirk Cousins.
Seattle would love to have Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Kirk Cousins is routinely finishing as a QB1. So
Yeah,
for me, if Carr is not finishing as a QB1, which Carr is not routinely done, right? Like Carr
no,
has to get that bump. So if he doesn't, for me, like I think that's criminal for what his value is. I mean, he's been what? Let me just read off the last 5 years. It's been 2017, 14, 13, or 19, 20, 17, 14, 13. This is
wow,
QB
okay,
finishes.
yeah. Last couple of years have been better. Yeah,
So
he definitely struggled early in his career.
he
Last couple of
finished
years
as
have been
a
better. He got Waller.
his best
Um,
season was in 2016.
was it?
As far as finishes are concerned. Not talking
Oh,
about from
okay.
a points perspective,
Well, I heard
which actually
14,
no, from a
13 is the
points
last two.
perspective, it was his best season as well.
14 and 13 were his last two, though. Right? So did he finish as a QB1 at one point?
Yeah, 12.
Oh, okay. Okay, I missed the 12.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So in 2016 he finished QB 12.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. So what you're saying is, if with this added talent, he
doesn't make that jump, you've lost all of your value.
Yeah,
You've lost everything, because if he doesn't do it now, he's never going to do it, and people are going to catch on to that.
By the way, did you think of Rashad Bateman as a fast player?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was reasonably fast. I didn't think he was.
I didn't realize. I thought he was more of a big, like a contested catch guy.
I mean, he's that too, but I think that was kind of what people fell in love with, is that he could be a very, complete wide receiver.
He broke 22 miles an hour on that touchdown today.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying today. I'm so sorry, guys. Listen on a podcast. In week 2, Rashad Bateman had a long touchdown, and I saw the next gen stats, and he broke 22 miles an hour, and that's elite. So
that is elite. That's Daniel Jones elite.
Yeah. I mean, it's not Tyreek Hill elite.
No, that always blows my mind. Daniel Jones ran about that speed.
Did he?
On his that run where he fell down.
Oh, against the Eagles.
Yeah.
Was that one against the Eagles, right?
I think that was like the fastest quarterback run for the season.
Yeah.
Like from miles per hour standpoint.
Right. That was that one. Was that the one where it was just like that? It was like a quick boot and then off tackle and just gone.
Yeah, I couldn't remember how the play developed, actually. I think because the fall stands out so much.
Yeah, just the shitty thing that happened to
I'm trying to see if I could look it up what it was. It was 21.1.
Right on. All right. So what do we like? All right. So if you're holding Tua, what do you expect to get ultimately? Or so you're not holding him as a cornerstone player, or
no, I am, and
okay, so you're holding him to find out.
Yeah, I'm holding him for at least a little bit longer to find out, because I liked the player as a prospect. I really did. Coming out, I really liked him, and I think he has all the same traits he's always had. I don't know why people hate him so much.
Oh, Chad.
What?
Did you have a recording of me or something? Because I feel like I've said that 15,000 times over the last 2 seasons.
The difference, right, is that he just didn't have the pieces around him, and I think for his kind of player, he needs the pieces around him.
And he didn't have the coach that runs a system that's perfect for him.
Yeah, I never saw him as like I thought the whole like tank for Tua thing was kind of silly.
I thought it was stupid too.
And I never saw him as that elite player, like the Andrew Luck or kind of guy like that. Right. I just saw him as a guy that can
Luck level prospect now.
Yeah, I just thought he could be in that second tier of quarterback when he was coming out. I thought he could be in that second tier of quarterback and give you longevity and decent production for a long time.
I think what he's shown, what happened is people started thinking he was a Mariota type prospect, right? And I think he's showing now that Mariota's never done this in his life and never will.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you can put, Mariota might be pretty good with Tyreek and Waddle.
Yeah, I think almost anybody would be pretty good with Tyreek and Waddle. I'd probably be pretty good with Tyreek and Waddle. But, we could cook up some end arounds or something.
Yeah, can we run some jet sweeps?
Yeah. Well, nothing over 5 yards, guys. And, my back's not feeling great today.
So real quick, all right. So yeah, and I love Tua, and the line that you just said is just crazy to me, because you've been talking to me for we've been doing this for a year and a half. Yeah. And I've been saying that exact thing for a year and a half.
Well, that might be where it comes from. Sometimes subconsciously we just repeat stuff that we've heard. Or we just start believing stuff that we've heard.
You got that from watching him. And what I've been saying is he is still the exact same player that they drafted 3rd overall.
Yeah,
and he's still the exact same player that people were saying was elite coming out. He shook the injury, I mean, he looks great. He
I
looks
guess I just
athletic
never
as
thought he
hell.
was elite. I never thought he was an elite player, or
He's
that wasn't my
I
expectation for
didn't
him.
think he was elite either, and it wasn't my expectation either. I wanted him to be like a really good RB or a QB2 in a super flex.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he could be a
And
QB one.
his value was way lower than that. And that's why I loved him so much.
Yeah,
And now that he's showing, like, he just got such an upgrade in coaching and weapons, and they just fit him so well, and people don't think the weapons fit him well. Yeah, I think they do.
yeah. I mean, I think if he has a Kirk Cousins kind of career where he's just constantly finishing in that QB 9 to QB 11 range, like I'm happy with that for Tua. Like
Hell
with
yeah, I'm
Tua.
happy with that for Tua.
So that's kind of what I'm expecting out of him, and if I can get that, then
Because I
that would
mean,
be
look,
fantastic. But I think
I
the
was
ceiling is higher in this offense, in this specific offense. I mean, I don't think anybody saw this coming, right? So, and I'm not talking about this like the production this week. I'm talking about this as far as the situation in which he finds himself with two elite wide
right.
receivers and an offense that's catered for him. I don't think people were really necessarily seeing that coming, especially with the Dolphins. So now that he's here, that's the dilemma where you say, okay, now it's tougher to trade him because we've seen him have a very, very, very special half of football.
Right.
Where even if he can bottle half of that, right? Like he's gonna have an outstanding season.
All he has to do is back this up for 2 weeks with like 280 and 2. He doesn't have to have crazy games for the next couple weeks. All he has to do is back this up with good, competent QB1 numbers, back end QB numbers, and he'll have elite value.
Yeah.
Because that will be the confirmation that people need.
Yep. Joe Fry wants to know if we talked about Amon-Ra.
No, we haven't, and I will just acquiesce at this point and say I was wrong.
Me too. Me too.
I honestly thought that he was sort of a scheme open guy, and just sort of complimentary piece. This guy's freaking killing people.
No, like I thought he was a talented player. Like I mean, I think it's easy to see he was a talented player. My problem,
like I saw him as sort of Curtis Samuel. Is sort of
no, I thought he was really like I think Curtis Samuel's a good player, but I think he showed he could be really, really, really good. Amon-Ra, but
I didn't think he was that good.
The problem that I had was that I did not think he was going to get the opportunity. Like I thought that they were gonna bring in more players. This is obviously I didn't have many shares with him of him to begin with, but early on in the offseason I did trade away what shares I had because I thought they were going to bring in players in the draft, in free agency, and with his draft capital and with him just having that slight sliver of production, a la Darius Slayton, kind of
right.
Minimal little stretch of production.
Right. Yeah.
That they weren't going to give him a true shot,
Yes.
and sometimes it happens for players, right? Like sometimes players just don't get the shot they deserve. And I thought that was a very reasonable scenario to happen. And obviously they're giving him the shot.
He has made a huge leap from his college tape because I did watch like some college tape on him and he couldn't run a route. Like he couldn't get open. He was a gadget-y, not a gadget-y, but like he wasn't creating space on his own. I'll put it that way. And he can do whatever he wants on the football field right now. Like this guy is starting to look really elite to me.
Yeah.
He had a 60-yard run today.
Yeah. I mean, he looks good. He looks really, really good.
If they start deciding to use him like that, it totally changes things for him. Yeah. Right?
I'm sad. I don't have a single share. I think I had one.
No, you have one. Yeah, you do. I traded it to you, you bastard. Right at the
usually have at least one share of a player that I think could gain value, so that makes sense, but I don't remember where that is.
I mean, I got him in a 14-team league with he fell to like the early third round. Right. So I was really like happy with that. But then I got down on him, and then when he got the Hard Knocks bump this year, showing him working out with his former Mr. Universe father, and all that stuff with showing like they had 10 minutes of film with him with his shirt off, catching passes, catching jugs or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So like immediately, and I had a couple drinks that night too. Immediately decided, all right, I'm trading this guy. This is a rebuild that I have him on. I'm just gonna get him. I'm gonna get somebody on him. But before I did that, I decided, well, Chad's in that league with me, so I'm gonna offer him to Chad at a fair price. And if Chad takes him, then I won't gouge someone else.
That's right. That's right. Okay. It's that Ming Dynasty League. Okay.
Yes.
Yep. I remember. I do have Omner on that league. Okay.
Yeah.
I have one share.
And that's an industry league, by the way. So
yes.
Shane Manila, Katie Flowers are in that league. So it's a very competitive 14 team league with some interesting rules, and I'm in a full rebuild.
You know what sucks?
Yeah.
What sucks is if I don't remember having him, I probably didn't start him.
Ouch.
Yeah. I'm trying to look now.
MFL teams. It's an MFL league, and
I did start him.
Nice.
Okay. That's really because I was like, why don't I remember having him?
That would have broke my heart. So I didn't exactly give him to you. I got him for Alec Pierce in a second.
Yeah, which I think is probably a little.
It was bullshit right now.
Yeah, it's bullshit right now. But at the time, that's
fine.
Yeah, 2 seconds or something.
Yeah, but now he's balling. And, he's worth. He's worth at least a first right now.
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely destroying the guy I'm playing.
So let's talk about that offense a little bit, because everybody said Detroit's building a good offense and they're going to be really good at some point. They're fucking elite right now. DeAndre Swift is a man amongst boys. Jamal Williams is the leader of that offense. Goff is not making stupid mistakes. They have Amon-Ra just destroying people.
Can I throw out a hot take real quick? I'm not the hot take guy. Like I'm almost.
Can I finish my thought real quick?
Yes, go ahead. And
it all starts with their line.
Yeah,
their offensive line
sure.
is really good.
For sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
No, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No
all right. I never do this hot take thing, but I honestly believe this could be a thing. If and when Jameson Williams comes back strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even with Jared Goff as their quarterback, I think this is, like, from a talent perspective, one of the best offenses in the NFL.
Wow.
Because I just think that highly of Jameson Williams. Like, how high I was on Waddle coming out, and I think he's better than Waddle, to be honest.
I think he's better than Waddle, too. And boy, do I love Waddle.
And granted, I'm talking about better in college. Like,
I mean,
I'm not comparing
Waddle shares, but he was tough to get.
I'm not comparing Waddle, NFL Waddle, right? Because obviously Waddle has shown that he's an elite player, but but as far as what they were as prospects, I think Jameson Williams is a better prospect, and I think Jameson Williams has the potential to be one of the best players in the NFL from a talent perspective. So I'm super, super, super excited about that offense. And it might be crazy. It might be crazy if Amon-Ra can keep it up.
If you remember last offseason when we first started doing this War Games pod, one of my first takes was NFL teams would be absolutely crazy to take Jameson Williams in the first round after that injury. There's no way they would do that.
I know. I argued with you about it all offseason.
Yeah. Well, not all offseason. Because
the beginning of the offseason.
In the beginning, my take was, and my thought was, not my take, but my honest opinion was that GMs wouldn't risk their jobs by taking an injured player in the first round.
Yeah.
Right. And then I started watching tape on this guy. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I don't give a flying fuck. We're explicit now, by the way. So I can say fuck. But like, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Like, if this guy's hurt, guys come back. Everybody comes back from ACLs now. I don't care. He'll be fine. Guys come back stronger from ACLs now. And this dude he was absolutely the best wide receiver coming out. Like, I could talk all day.
I think he's the best wide receiver since Jamar Chase to come out in the NFL draft.
You mean since last year?
Was Jamar Chase?
Yes. This is the second year.
All the years blend together. But anyways,
he's the best wide receiver to come out this year.
I can't. Before that, like I liked him better than CeeDee Lamb, coming out.
Yes,
I liked him better than. I'm trying to think of some of the other guys that were coming out.
CeeDee Lamb always. Well, there's concerns, but anyway, go on.
I liked him better than Jerry Jeudy, and I thought Jerry Jeudy was fucking special. I still think I really like Jerry Jeudy still, but you know
who I liked better than any of those guys?
Who's that?
And I was so wrong about. He plays for the Vikings now.
Rager.
Yeah,
Rager.
I loved Rager. I thought he was the elite speed option that we needed on the outside, and
yeah.
It's amazing to me though that the Eagles' two big misses at wide receiver were J Jaw. Do you know who J Jaw is?
Yeah.
Okay. So JJ Arcega-Whiteside, and Rager were our two big misses, and the guys that everyone said we should have taken instead of them were Jefferson and DK, and now J Jaw is DK's teammate on Seattle, and Rager's Jefferson's teammate on Minnesota.
Well, they're barely teammates because
J Jaw's of the practice, and Rager's just a returner.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, you wouldn't be surprised if a news article came out tomorrow saying one of them or both of them had been cut. So they're barely teammates. But
if you're on your second team on your first contract, you're in trouble as a first round or a second round pick.
Are there any other players you want to mention before we hop off here?
No, we went way long. So I think we nailed it. I think we talked about a lot of stuff. I think we talked about a lot of players. I think we gave you guys some ideas of what to do, what not to do. In most cases right now it's hold, wait for these guys to build even more value. But I do think it's clear that we're gonna sell Gabe Davis right now, right? I'm on board with that.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna sell the rest of my share, or I'm gonna attempt to sell. And I'm not saying I'm gonna go out there and sell for anything I can get. I'm gonna try to sell for 2 seconds and try to get an early projected second and maybe a mid, to late 23, 24 second to accompany that and call it a day. That's what I'm gonna try to do.
Yeah, I think I am gonna wait and try to get a first for Gabe Davis. I think I'm gonna just start trying to get a first for Gabe Davis.
I'm definitely gonna try that first. But
I'm gonna try a 24 first. You're not getting a 23 first, guys out there listening to us. Just understand the 23 firsts are overvalued right now, and it's real tough to get them. So I'm not even gonna try. I'm gonna try for a 24. And I'd settle for a 25.
What's crazy is, maybe I should leave this. Well, I'll just mention it, but maybe we'll talk about it next pod. But a little bit more in depth. But I've been on the boat of these 23 first prices are absolutely ridiculous. Man, watching some of these players, they might not be. They might not be that ridiculous, man. These running backs look really good.
It is a hell of a
really good.
Yeah. So, would you say this was a hard thing, Chad?
Hard. I'm not quite sure how to answer that. Uh,
I'm going to answer it for you. That's what she said. Anything else from you, Chad?
nope. I think that's a good place to end it.
All right, tune into Dynasty War Games. We are either going to be on Fridays or Sunday nights live, but we will always be on Mondays as a podcast. Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, anywhere you get podcasts. We're in the Dynasty Warzone network. I think it's really important to subscribe to the Dynasty Warzone network because you get our podcast, you get the main podcast with Memphis and Jerry, where they, give you strategy and tell you how to build your team. And then you also get the Daily Destroyer for daily fantasy. You get Kyle August doing the SmackDown, which is hands down my favorite redraft podcast.
That might be one of my favorite football podcasts, to be honest with you. I think
it's my favorite redraft podcast by a lot. I mean, Kyle kind of just doesn't mess around. He gives you his opinions, which are always really sharp, and he's really smooth and concise and to the point. Basically the opposite of what we do.
Although, I sent him a DM earlier today about a trade in that RSL league we're in that I commissioned. And he hasn't gotten back to me yet, and he's always doing that to me. So you know what? His show sucks. Let's still check it out, though. I'm just kidding. I love it.
No, seriously, listen to the SmackDown. That is a great amazing show. And the Dynasty Warzone is just getting better every day. So, listen to us. Subscribe to the network for us, but then you get all the bonus content.
Yeah. Leave a review if you like the show. Even if you don't like the show, leave a review.
Yeah, leave a review. Really a review. Tell us players that you want to hear, by the way, because that's what we're going to be doing all season is Dynasty focus, right? Like what are you doing with these players?
Yes. And we're always amending the show based on feedback we get and trying to take people's opinion into consideration because it's a product that you guys are listening to. It's for you guys. So leave a review and tell us what we're doing well and what we're not doing well if you think we're not doing some things well. And we will either address them or not.
Chad, I really messed up tonight. And here's the last thing. What are you drinking?
Oh, I'm drinking Coke and Black Label.
Coke and Black Label. What?
Yeah.
What is that?
Johnny Walker Scotch.
Johnny Walker Black Label.
Yeah.
What is that? The 12-year?
12-year no, age? It's just a 12-year. Yeah, it's their cheap. It's like
cheap Johnny Walker.
It is their cheap. It is their cheap stuff.
Yeah, but it's not cheap Scotch, is what I'm throwing out there.
No, it's all right, but it's not a single malt either. It's one of those things.
Right on.
So it's Johnny just Walker's, a fun drink.
No, Johnny Walker Black's a good. It's not the blue, but it's good.
Yeah. Blue's overrated. Green was where it's at.
Oh yeah, I don't have that kind of scratch. All right, I am doing Tito's and soda. My wife is, she hates chemicals, so we do essential oils in this house, and we diffuse them to make our house smell beautiful, but I also throw them in my seltzer, little lime, little lemon, little grapefruit, and I have a citrus blend. So it's
you put essential oil in your water? Is that
in my soda water? Yeah.
It's
edible. You didn't know that they were edible?
Well, they make different kinds. Make sure it's not the aromatherapy kind.
Yeah, no. The what? I think it's Healthy Living or whatever it is. It's a cult. The cult that she belongs to of essential oil.
Oh yeah, the essential oil cult. I know some people in that. Yep.
Yes, she belongs. She got out of it, and she doesn't actually sell it anymore, but she does still buy them.
Does she still do like the ritualistic sacrifices of the sheep, or no?
Oh my god. I don't know, man. She told me she drove her kid to Tennessee for college. He's a Vol, but
she picked up a sheep along the way for sure.
Well, I personally haven't heard from him since then.
Oh, okay.
And I asked her for his college email so that I could sign up for the NFL NFL package, and get the college discount. And
I think he's all right. I don't think the essential oil Colt is as crazy as the
You're
makeup
not going to
Colt.
sacrifice your second born son.
No, the makeup Colt, they're crazy. The
Okay.
and
Right
the cleansing drink Colt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty crazy too.
We
My
don't go
Facebook
into
is full of those.
We don't go into those kind of shenanigans. Right on.
I
All right.
apologize. I apologize for anybody that does that. I don't. No judgment from me.
So send us tweets or DMs at Dynasty War Games for all the players that you want to hear. And really, as always, for Chad Mendoza, I'm Jesse Schneeman, and we are good fantasy players giving good advice.
Okay. I can live with that.
You were supposed to shut up.